Hey, it's the incredible WJZ, and I'm back again with another video on Final Fantasy VII Remake. And it's actually me. I want to thank everyone that came out for the last video. I really do appreciate just being able to double the numbers with no subscribers, no support, and just being my second video that ever came out on my channel. I'm hoping that we continue to grow. I'm still going to be making more content, and I apologize that this video is actually coming out so late. My computer actually ended up frying on me and I had to wait for technical support. And once I got back up and running, I still had like backed up work that I had to finish. So now that I'm back with the continuation of the previous video, I'm hoping I can help still clarify my reasonings for thinking that Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is going to end around the cargo ship. Now, this is all going to go into fear. And by some will of the universe, maybe it was a good thing that this video is coming out on Halloween. So, it's going to be spoilers for Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you haven't played the game, I do advise that you go check that joint out. It's one of the best Final Fantasies to date. Otherwise, I'll see you in 7 seconds because that should be time enough for them to get the fuck out of this video before the spoilers start kicking off. I'll see you guys in 7 seconds.
In an Ultimania interview with Motomu Toriyama, he was asked about Biggs surviving at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake and where it gave a glimmer of hope that Biggs and Jesse had somehow survived. It was this that stood out to me. Toriyama said, however, an important theme in this story is loss. Biggs, Jesse, and all the Midgard civilians that were caught in between the conflict of Barrett's Avalanche Cell and President Shinra. Much of the entire story of Part 1 was constructed like an anime OVA that was going to kill off all the characters at the end. I thought if they consolidated the entire Midgard arc under the theme of loss and built that dark tone around it, how does the tone change after the Midgard arc? And as I explained in the previous video, much of the tone goes to fear, then to growth, and finally resolution. If part 2 could utilize the theme of fear and then set the tone for the next chapter, going from calm to the cargo ship would be key. But Rufus Shinra and Genova are vital to its execution. It all began at Shinra HQ in the original game. Sephiroth's sword was lodged into the dead body of President Shinra. Genova had left a bloody trail of blood up to his office, and Rufus conveniently showed up to take up the throne.
And hold up. Like I said, I really do appreciate everyone that came out for the past video. So remember, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can catch whenever I post up a new video. What I do plan on doing is I want to start a new series called New Game Plus You. And pretty much like I'm the type of person that likes to go into my video games, my TV shows, even movies blind without really spoiling the information for myself. That's like one of the reasons I don't really watch other people's Final Fantasy videos is because I'm really afraid that somebody's going to say something about part 2 that I don't want to know. So, after I play the game and I get a real genuine feel for it, I start a New Game Plus, and I think that's a good entry point for me to invite other people into my space when I start playing the game and not feel as though it's like any distractions or I'm not getting the full feeling of the game. You get what I'm saying? I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but that's how I feel. So I recently beat Tales of Arise from Bandai Namco, and I'm about halfway through Square Enix's Guardians of the Galaxy. One of these games is really, 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 really good. The other one, not so much. But I don't want to digress too much off the Final Fantasy VII video. I would love that once I start going live, that you guys will jump in and play the game along with me. Just, sharing your thoughts and building a community for incredible golden era to work off of. I do this a lot. Like, you don't know how many times in this video I said Sephiroth and not Sephiroth. But yeah, incredible golden era to build up and have a community of its own. I plan on making like video games, anime reviews, all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I appreciate all you guys. So remember, whether you're new or returning, hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share it with your friends. You're all incredible, and I appreciate you all.
The tone was beginning to transition from this point. The game wanted you to fear what was coming, but the game didn't truly deliver that. In Sephiroth's defense, his power and descent into madness was given its due diligence, with the calm flashback and the Zalem impaled on the tree. Yet he became a parody of himself as he continued to fly around knocking over everyone, and that creeper walk of his, it didn't really smell of fear. And Rufus was regulated to a side character, even after his introduction proposed that he would be a more important character. And Genova was regulated to a repeat boss fight that would make her more of an annoyance. In part 2, Rufus should receive a lot more screen time to develop his character and story. Rufus is a very important character, and as far as remake goes, his status is an influencer of fate, since he can see the whispers. Rufus will find himself causing a shakeup at Shinra HQ, as he delegates everyone's new responsibilities and his new world order. Firing Hojo, planning his inauguration, his ideal, Neo Midgard, and his method for beating his opposition. To remind you of what I said in the previous video, Shinra holds more control of the eastern continent than others. Its presence is known. The citizens may see that using Mako energy is wrong, but most of them are complicit. And with much more detailed areas to create, Rufus's face and promotion should be on posters, televisions, radios, and billboards. Shinra has so much more promotional paraphernalia throughout the city of Midgard. Shinra has already placed Barrier on TV and could begin to pin the assassination of President Shinra on him. Shinra will want to continue to spin the story of the villainous Wutai allied terrorists that threaten the state of peace. Rufus having a much larger role here would be an opposing one onto the party. You might not fear him like a monster that goes bump in the night, but more so as a head figure of a systematic oppression that prevents you from safely traversing the eastern continent. I want you to think of when you would play Final Fantasy 15 and then suddenly that airship would show up. This fear will only last for so long. As the narrative continues, you, the player, will have leveled up to the point where whenever Shinra throws something at you, you will be ready for it. But this is what brings in Genova. Rufus brings the oppressive fear, but Genova really is the monster from the horror films. And as I said without raising the ESRB, Genova's appearance on a cargo ship can be a horrific one. This is just Genova's time to shine. I recently played Tales of Arise, and they created a dungeon out of a cruise ship. Remake could do one better with the implementation of Genova infected victims, separating the party and preying on everyone's fears. This includes Rufus and Heidegger. Finally, there is Sephiroth. I skipped explaining the calm flashback in the previous video because I wanted to highlight that this is also a key moment in scary movie storytelling. Enter the war hero and strip him down to his very core as he descends into madness and begins killing the entire town. You may know there's a difference in how he speaks, the ore and the watashi, though we prefer Sephiroth to refer to himself with ore because this means he is sane and in control. The watashi Sephiroth could really get his props since it would no longer look like a parody. Being able to actually see the discomfort, doubt, and confusion on his face with a terrifying score playing in the background, it could cue the argument of which one is more frightening, which Sephiroth is really better. After that point of the game, Rufus would begin to appear. The group would be branded criminals for everyone to see, and would have to use their wits to travel to Junin. They would cross the marshlands, avoiding the deadly Zalus, travel through the abandoned mines, possibly facing off against a creature that has caused all the monsters to run amok. Meet Yuffie and deal with the burdens of her mission. Travel to Fort Condor and defend it against the Shinra attack. Then infiltrate Upper Juno and reach their climax with Rufus at the inauguration. If their cover is blown, it will be the fight of their lives and lose one of the best chances to follow the trail of Sephiroth. And all the while, the person in the black cloak from the OG will more than likely become test subject 2, carrying the remains of Genova. And who knows what sort of shenanigans he's going to get into as he travels across the eastern continent. Disguising himself as Sephiroth, he can be a cause of many of the events that could stir up trouble during their travels. Then, Genova kicks off Fright Fest by turning the cargo ship into a den of horrors. Like I said in the last video, it may not seem like a lot of story to work off of, but Calm to the Cargo Ship does have enough to construct a game with 18 chapters similar to Part 1. And here's the bonus round. Just when you thought the fear was over, just when you think you escaped the thriller, enter his towering figure, the color crimson, and an unmistakable voice. Dun, 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 dun. The Nightmare himself drops as a DLC. Vincent's heartbreaking story of losing a woman he loves to the monster who is Hojo, and then after being shot down by the barrel of his gun, experimented on, and then turned into a monstrous weapon. What horrors could he have gone through? What monstrosities could Hojo have tested his abilities against? The zombie-like Vincent eventually is given a second chance when his love Lucretia infuses his body with chaos infused Mako and the proto material, and thus creating our tragic Frankenstein, Vincent Valentine. There is just too many keys into the theme of fear in this section of the game. I would love to see it capitalized on and be the story of part 2. Yeah, Vincent would return in part 3, but the game will start getting more into the growth process. And Vincent making a decision to refrain from living out his sins in a coffin shows growth. It is also a nice centerpiece to a story arc like the Hell House was in part 1, if part 3 starts up at Corel.
So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, I'm looking forward to anyone that wants to join in when I start going live. You can check my Twitter and Instagram at InkGold4Era for like a schedule block that I'll have up for when I'll go live, because it's also going to have to revolve around like stuff I do around life. You know, I got kids and I watch football, so I wouldn't be going live during that kind of time. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm the incredible WJZ. I'm out. I love you all. Peace.
The fuck's that? There is Sephiroth. Finally, there is Sephiroth. I skipped explaining the Khan flashback in the previous video because I wanted to highlight that this is a key moment in Scory movie.